It's only by honoring the rest that I make enough space to allow the next initiation to come through. If I don't rest, I don't allow space for that initiation, and therefore I don't go on to create anything else. So we really need to understand that we're collaborators with a very big, powerful energy, and we need to surrender to that most of the time.
Hey guys, welcome to our SoulFam Podcast, where I interview space holders from all over the world. I'm your host, my name is Karolina, and I am the Connection Catalyst. I help spiritual entrepreneurs experience deeper connection with themselves, with others, and with the whole universe. Today on the show, we have Holly Maree, the Human Design teacher and the Manifestor specialist. Welcome to the show, Holly. How are you doing?
Thank you. I'm so good. It's really exciting to be here.
Thank you so much for agreeing to be here as well, because it's so exciting. We just had a podcast with the generator. So today, Manifestor theme, and it's really, really exciting to me specifically because I'm a Manifestor generator. So it's just perfect for me to talk about it because I really need to understand the Manifestors on a deeper level. And I feel I'm still very much a newbie in this whole topic of human design. So it's just really exciting, and it's an honor that you are here with me and that I can ask you all these questions, and so it's just really, really cool.
I love it. Welcome to the human design rabbit hole. It's a big system. Welcome into it.
Thank you. I'm so excited already to be in this rabbit hole. Honestly, it's amazing. And because I've been into chakras so much, but like always, chakras are like the flow upward, right? And human design is just flow from me to the world and from the world to me. So it's like a different dimension of energy that I can explore. And it's just so exciting because, I've not heard of human design for years since I had my spiritual awakening. No one really told me about it. And only a few years back, someone mentioned, and I was like, what is it? and only recently I've been really diving deeper. And so I'm really curious, how did you get into human design, and how did you decide for that to be your main thing that you want to do? Like, how did you get inspired to go this rabbit hole, as you say?
This is mine. Yes. I'm like most people, human design found me. I mean, that's a really common story amongst people who are super into human design, is that a lot of us have this experience where we hear about human design a little bit. We might, somebody might mention it, or we might run our chart and get confused and then just leave it. And human design kind of keeps coming back into your space and into your space and into your space. And that was very much my experience. So I was resistant to it for at least a year. I'd heard about it several times. I had run my chart. I thought none of it made sense. And I was like, this is just another system with like crazy language and crazy words, and like, I don't need another system. I'm good. I'd very much been through my spiritual awakening already, and I was already operating at that time as a spiritual business coach. So I was utilizing a lot of, energetic tools and a lot of spiritual language. So I didn't see the need for human design, but it just did not leave me alone. It wouldn't leave me alone. I eventually ended up in a mastermind with a beautiful friend of mine who's also a manifesting generator, Eden Carpenter. And she's American. The mastermind was American. So I headed to LA for a week to do a mastermind retreat. And Eden and I shared an Airbnb. And she was just so relentless with human design and bringing human design into everything that I had a really specific moment where I said, just to myself, and to the universe, I said, that's it, hands up. All right, I surrender. Whatever this thing is, like, bring it in. I'm available. I will learn it. Just teach me what it's about. And that was just a journey that it opened up wild pathways that I had no intention of following, had never considered them at all. I didn't intend to shift my business into human design in any way. It really just evolved like that, again, just by surrender, like, okay, this is what is being asked of me. This is the place that we go. And now I specialize in the energy type of manifestors within human design because I am a manifestor. I'm a 4/6 splenic manifestor, and that was an evolution in itself. It wasn't a strategic decision. to be a human design teacher and specialize in manifestors. It just, I was following an urge, which is a very manifestor thing to do, and created this kind of extraordinary community off it. So human design, it turns out, has been really pivotal across my whole journey. Just, I didn't expect it to be.
I love it. I love this story because I love when the universe is just like pushing us somewhere and we're like, nah, universe, don't go there. But then we're like, all right, okay. Like, it's not like I have a lot to say in here. It's like, you're just, bringing me this. I cannot even freaking escape it. So, all right, I'm just going to give up and surrender. I have nothing else to do. I love it.
And it leads to amazing outcomes. It's always worth it, but we just put so much energy into resisting.
Yeah, because we operate on our mind and not on our heart. I bet if you just meditated with it for, an hour or two, you would already know, like, yeah, okay, yep. But you were just like, it's too much. Too many symbols that are weird. Too many like numbers there. Like, when I look at it, I'm thinking like, that is way too much for me. But I also know that the deeper you go into a typology, whatever it is, the more you really understand it. So it's like I am very much into Enneagram personality typology, for example, and I'm still learning and I'm still going deeper and deeper and deeper. And really, the deeper you go, it's like, oh my God, it's like a manual for humans. So I understand that any typology that you really go deep into, then you're like unlocking all this understanding that you can really, your intellect can actually really be, I don't know, wise in a way, like knowing and seeing all these different factors that are affecting humans. So I really am so curious about the whole design. And actually, I'm super curious also about the part of your story when you had your spiritual awakening. How did it happen for you and when did it happen?
Oh gosh. I mean, like everybody, my spiritual awakening was a mess. I mean, like, it seems so pretty from the outside, but the reality is it's just a mess for everyone. It was kind of from about 28 to 32 years old. It was when I owned my previous business. I had a brick and mortar business, a cafe, and it was just kind of nightmarish. It was like all of the trauma, all of the difficulty, a lot of broken relationships and challenges in that business. And I came out, eventually we sold the business and I came out really broken, just really not empty, but I was in complete turmoil. The business for me had been this pinnacle. It had been this big achievement. It was, I've finally made it into doing something meaningful and something successful. And then that was taken away. And I was left just so disillusioned with everything and wondering, who am I? I think every spiritual awakening starts with that question. Who am I? I don't even know who I am or what I'm doing or what is the purpose of all of this. And that really placed me on a path for several years of doing all of that dark night of the soul work and really dealing with a lot of trauma from my past and understanding why all of those patterns had come back out to play again through that business. And I mean, it took a long time. There was a lot of messy moments. There was a lot of broken moments. There were a lot of breakthroughs and epiphanies as well. But certainly I didn't expect when I was younger. I mean, if you had spoken to me 6 years ago, I never would have expected to be in any kind of spiritual teacher role. That was just never, ever on my agenda. And so for me, the spiritual awakening was a full experience into a completely different identity, not just working on myself and learning these things about myself, but it was this pathway in front of me that opened to being a different person than I just had never even been on my radar to be this person.
Wow, that's so cool. Yeah, and it's amazing again how like we think that we're heading one way, but then everything just crumbles. And then we're like, okay, so my identity was attached to, for example, the cafe owner, right? So without that, then who am I? If I put so much of my energy and of my identity into this, then without all of that, then what? Who am I? But then we are essence. We are God expressing itself as a human, which is freaking great. So we can create literally anything with our life. And then, yeah, it's just beautiful how the universe is just then pointing us into the right direction. And I also didn't really expect myself to be in a spiritual field when I had my awakening. And for a few years, I actually wasn't. But then it was clear to me. It's like, this is my life and I'm so much into it. Like, I need to have a business around it because otherwise I'm gonna be bored. Like, this is the only thing that I'm really, really excited to learn and to just explore about. So, you know, now we're both on this path and it's great because now we can talk about all these cool things on this podcast and help people help themselves too, and help everyone who is on the path and who maybe have just started and that they don't really know and they are still looking. So this is really, really great. I'm so excited. Perfect. So let's talk about manifestors, shall we? Because, yeah, I'm super, super curious about it. First of all, I wanted to ask maybe about the traits of a manifestor that are different to other human design types, and also maybe to manifestor generator, because I would like to discern, like how to discern, for example, that I'm a manifestor generator, and then if I look at people, how do I know if they are manifestor generators or just simply manifestors? Like, what is the difference? And also with other types.
Yeah. So manifestors are one of the rare energy types in human design, which is important because it means that you generally don't come across a whole lot of manifestors. I mean, in the human design system, just on that surface layer, we're broken down into the 5 different energy types. So the generators are at about 37% of the population. Manifesting generators like you are about 33%. So those are what we call our sacral beings. You have a defined sacral center and you make up 70% of the population. So the vast majority of people that you see around you will be a generator or a manifesting generator. Then we've got projectors at about 20%, reflectors at 1%. So they're super duper rare. They're our unicorns. And then manifestors are at 9%. So just statistically speaking, you're not likely to have a whole bunch of manifestors in your life. And manifestors, much like projectors and reflectors, because we're non-sacral, we don't have sacral energy, we're not defined and consistent in that energy, we experience a lot of conditioning to be like generators and manifesting generators, to have a lot more energy, to be really creative, to be really consistent, to be able to respond all the time. And so most manifestors that you come across, even if you do have some in your life, are probably likely to be behaving like manifesting generators, right? Because that's what we've been taught how to do. The reality is, though, that even though we're one of the rare types, so we have similarities to projectors and reflectors, because we're non-sacrals just like them. We need to rest a lot. We're pretty inconsistent. We can't kind of keep up with the hustle. We struggle to do things like 9-to-5 work or exercise regimes or those kind of things. Manifestors have a different separation again, because we are the only energy type out of the 5 that has a closed aura. So everybody else, so the rest of the 91% of society, has some form of open aura. So our generators and our manifesting generators, you guys have this really beautiful, like open and responsive aura. It gets really lit up by things around you. Our projectors have an open and penetrating aura. So they're really good at just seeing through things. They can discern what's really happening. They can provide guidance and answers. Our reflectors have an open and like processing aura. They take all of the energy in. They're so remarkable and they process it all and produce wisdom. Manifestors are closed. So our aura is like a brick wall. The challenge is that when people try to understand what manifestors are like, you actually can't. So most often when people come to me and they're like, oh, there's this kind of strange person in my life, like I find them really interesting and I find them really inspiring, but I can't read them. Like, I just don't really understand them. It's so likely that person is a manifestor, because we live in our own energetic bubble. For us, it's quiet and it's peaceful and it's calm, and we like to be separate from everyone else, because that's when we can hear our own inner voice, we can hear our own urges, we can manage our own energy and just take action on the things that we want to take action on, rest when it is that we need to rest. And that's a great thing. They're really, really great qualities in a manifestor. If you've got somebody in your life who you're like, oh, that person's just a kind of a lone wolf. They just sort of go off and do their own thing. They're probably a manifestor, right? They're probably some form of manifestor. But we're humans and we operate in a human world, and having a closed energy when everyone else around us has an open energy can be really challenging, because we need to learn to interact with all of these other people. We need to learn to do things like informing you, letting you know what's going on behind our closed energy. So, I mean, if somebody in your life who's a little bit strange, a little bit unusual, you probably want to check if they're a manifestor.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. And so how to maybe operate with these kind of people in terms of like, how to treat these people you already mentioned, like, okay, you need to ask them, okay, how are you feeling? Because I cannot freaking read you because you're so closed. And maybe also just understanding that these people just need their own space, maybe way more than other types, right? And to just be really understanding of that and knowing that it's not about us, not taking it personally, but just knowing that, they just needed to just discover who they are and to actually really be happy with themselves. Because if they are not going to know who they are and where they go, then they're not going to be fulfilled in their life. So then they're not going to be also fulfilled in relationships, right? So these are the two things that we might pay attention to with the manifestors. And is there anything else that we need to know, like how to treat them, like how to operate with them, or how to form a good relationship with the manifestor?
Yeah, well, every energy type has a role. Yeah. So every one of the 5 energy types has a kind of unique and really important role that we take on. And when we're all really honoring ourselves in our energy, that's when we come into harmony in terms of how human design sees it. The manifestor role is that we're here to be the initiators. So we get things started, we commence them. That means that we have an impact from our energy. People really feel our energy because it's closed, but because it's also designed to impact. It's designed to catalyze people into action and things and places and communities and systems. We are the firework that goes off in the sky and creates all of these pretty colors, and then we disappear for a long time and we rest, because it takes a lot of energy to be the initiator. Where manifesting generators and manifestors are a bit different, though, is that manifesting generators are doing that initiating, but you guys are doing it out of response. So you're seeing these things that are happening in the world around you and feeling them, and you're initiating new ways, right? It's like, oh, let's take this, but we can do it better. Let's do it in this new way. Let's progress. Let's move. Let's take action. So manifesting generators are always going. Manifestors are taking things that have never existed before and bringing them into reality. So we're not responding to anything. We just have a connection to divine, to source, to the universe, to God, whatever it is that appeals. And we are really being the conduit to bring that through into reality. That means that most people find manifestors pretty inspiring, right? We're usually referred to as like the visionaries and the leaders and the people at the edge of the collective. You know, we're carving out new paths for the collective. But the reality is that our aura has 2 different effects on people. We have an aura that is either magnetizing or it's repelling. So we will get some people who are super into it. They'll be like so magnetized into everything the manifestor does. Like, that's amazing. I want to jump on board with you and let's do this new thing and let's birth it into reality. And they want to help the manifestor. And then we have other people who are instantly repelled because they're not ready for it. They're not available for it. It's too impacting. It's too initiating. It's too challenging. And they will really just feel an immediate sense of not liking that person, right? Like, you're threatening, you're unpredictable, you're too much. I just don't like you. So I think that the way that people receive a manifestor on the outside of the aura is really different to the way that we feel on the inside of the aura. We're quite sensitive and we're quite vulnerable in just really trying to tap in to those urges, just tapping into those things that want to be birthed, and then, you know, crossing our fingers and trying to trust ourselves enough to be the person to initiate it. And really the best thing that people can do for us on the outside, if you love a manifestor and you're inspired by them, is encourage us to do that. Ask us what help you can offer, what support you can offer, because even though we look very visionary and glamorous on the outside, we're most often just scared. We're terrified and hoping that we're doing the right thing.
Of course, because it's kind of like a responsibility that is unwritten to initiate. If you need to be a leader, if you need to be a visionary, it's kind of like, okay, now, especially if I know my type, I know I'm a manifestor, I know I'm supposed to birth something into this world, then it's like, oh my God, but what if it's not right? Or what if it doesn't fit? Or what if no one will help me with that? And I'm not going to generate enough energy to have all these generators around me. What if no one wants to do this with me? And so I can understand if there were some fears or some blocks around that. If you already know your type, and if you're already like, oh my God, okay, now I know that it's my responsibility to do something about it, to actually use my energy in a way that serves everyone. So I can imagine that it could be a struggle sometimes for manifestors, but it's a great awareness, right? So we need to just be okay with responsibility. And I can kind of understand also that I see people around me that have like amazing new ideas, but yeah, I'm finding myself more like, yeah, let's do this and take it there and like, develop it further, rather than myself creating something completely new that wasn't there anymore. So I can really relate to that. It's really true for me. And so is there anything else? Because like I understand that a lot of traits of a manifestor I also have as a manifestor generator, right? It's just a different energy. So what is the main difference? Just that the manifestor generators are generating a lot of energy and they have a different response strategy? Or is it like even bigger difference than it seems to me?
Yeah. A lot of people think that manifestors and manifesting generators are really similar, but we have more differences than we have similarities. Manifesting generators are largely generator driven. You've got that defined sacral that gives you all of that energy. You get a lot of satisfaction when you chase things that really light you up. When you complete things, you love to build things. I like to refer to manifesting generators as like generators on steroids, because you're generators with the ability to do like 100 things at once. You are the only genuine multitaskers in the whole of society. You're the only people that can really juggle a lot of things at once. And that really is nourishing for you to do that. So our manifesting generators, really the difference that they take on is that you've got all of this ability to build and respond and be really energetic and be like sunlight, but you can also make new things happen, right? So you take what is there and you make new ways of doing it. Manifestors are really super different to that, because manifestors go a lot slower and a lot calmer and a lot more quietly than manifesting generators do. And generally, a manifestor will do like one thing at a time, because our energy has this creation and rest. We go in two cycles. We're either creating or we're resting, and we are resting so much more than we are creating. I mean, we're resting about 80% of the time and only creating 20% of the time. So when a manifestor is in creation, we are receiving that creative urge, right? That divine thing that wants to be initiated, that wants to be birthed, and we get really tunnel visioned about it. We get like super obsessed with it. We get a bit manic. We're all about it. Like, we will stay awake. This is the only time that we are like manifesting generators. We're like, this thing has to be done. We will put all of our energy into it. We will be all about it. And as soon as it is initiated, so not even when it's completed, right? We just have to get it out into the world, and then we're done. We're bored. We disconnect. We even have this weird sense of like, we're so sick of that thing that we just created that we don't want to go anywhere near it again. We don't want to touch it. We're like, 2 weeks ago I was obsessed with it, and now I don't want to hear another word about it. Like, I don't even want to look at that thing again. And we go into a deep rest cycle for months after that. And really the thing that we've initiated is then out in the world, ready for everyone else to respond to it and build on it and do something with it. And usually we'll be picked up by generators or manifesting generators who say, great, let's build this. A manifesting generator will come along and pick up something that a manifestor has initiated and say, look at all of the ways we can make this bigger. look at all of the new things that we can add to this amazing thing that's being created. So whereas manifesting generators don't really get tired, if you're pursuing the thing that you love and you're really being lit up by it, it gives you more energy. For a manifestor, once we've initiated that thing, we're out of energy. We're done. We are back down to zero, and it takes us months and months to refill.
And this is so interesting. Like, why do you think it is that it takes so long to refill? It's because you are so intense in the energy for. It's kind of like if you take manifesting generator, it's kind of like you condense all this energy into these 2 or 3 weeks while you initiate something, and then like, oh my god, I haven't slept for days, and now I just need to really take it easy.
Yeah, it's partly our intensity about it because we're really physically super invested in what we're doing. But also, I think it's just the reality of being a human body that is initiating a brand new thing, right? We act as a conduit to whatever is coming from that 5D energy, and we're bringing it into the 3D reality. And no other human does that. And I think it's just something that the human body is just struggles with. We're not designed as humans to be able to do that all the time. So there's definitely a surrender element to being a manifestor, to recognizing, the thing that I might birth 3 things a year, and they have an enormous impact on the world. But the cost of that is that it tires me out so much, it wears me out, that I then need to go into such deep rest. And it's only by honoring the rest that I make enough space to allow the next initiation to come through. If I don't rest, I don't allow space for that initiation, and therefore I don't go on to create anything else. So, we really need to understand that we're collaborators with a very big, powerful energy, and we need to surrender to that most of the time.
Mm-hmm. That's really, really interesting. So that brings me to another thing that I would like to touch upon with you, which is manifestation. Because manifestors are like, okay, these are people who kind of manifest, right? They have to, because manifestation is such a big theme. So I was thinking, like, how is manifestation, like this birthing into the world, different for manifestors and other types? Like, we already touched upon it a little bit, because like you need to create something and take a rest, and create something and take a rest. But like the whole theme of manifestation, or maybe a way to manifest, how is that different?
Yeah, a lot of people get this confused, right? Because we see the word manifestor and we think that it has everything to do with manifestation, when really manifestors are called manifestors in human design because, when you look at the body graph, when you run your human design chart and you get this crazy body graph with all of those shapes and lines and numbers on it, the shapes are energy centers. And the way that manifestors have defined energy, so those shapes that are colored in, is what makes them manifestors. It's the same thing that makes a manifesting generator, or a generator, a generator. Manifestors have no definition in the sacral center, but they will have one of the other energy centers, like the root center, the emotional center, or the ego, directly connected to the throat, which is also defined. So manifestors have what we call a defined motorized throat. So we have this ability to kind of always have physical energy, this big push energy behind our ability to speak. Yeah, we don't have physical energy in the rest of our body. We're usually pretty tired most of the time, but our ability to speak is always there. And so manifestors have this sort of, like a gramophone quality, like a megaphone, when people speak into the megaphone and it amplifies out. That's the manifestor throat. And in human design, the throat center, when it's defined, is referred to as the center of communication and manifestation. Because when you speak, you bring things into life. When you speak, you create. Yes? So because manifestors have this extra power behind our ability to speak, that's why we're referred to as manifestors. In reality, it means every single time a manifestor is speaking, they're initiating. Yeah, it really boils down to that one simple fact. But that doesn't necessarily make us better or worse, at manifestation than everyone else. It just means that our ability to manifest and the process by which we do that is very different from everyone else, where everyone else is in some way responding to some energy that's happening around them in order to manifest. A manifestor just needs to speak to initiate what it is that we want to manifest. But of course, then that brings up a whole bunch of shadow work and the challenges and the conditioning, just like everyone else is experiencing too.
Mm-hmm. So, how to become a master manifestor as a manifester?
How do we master manifestation as a manifestor? Yeah. The first step is to always heal that throat. Always heal the throat. A lot of manifestors have throat wounds, and we'll either have, and this goes for manifesting generators too, this is super important for you guys, we'll either have a repressive throat wound or a reactive throat wound. So a repressive throat wound is where we say, I'm too much when I speak, right? I'm too much for other people. I'm
Oh,
too
that goes
loud. I
for
speak
me.
too much, right? Big wound for manifesting generators. Yeah. And so we repress our throat down and we don't speak. And we become quiet. We hold our opinions in. We become people pleasers. We become submissive. The other end of this is that we can have a reactive throat wound where we say, I'm not enough when I speak. People aren't listening to me. They're not hearing me. They're not allowing me. So, in a reactive throat wound, you speak really loud, you speak on top of people, you interrupt, you have to bring attention to people by your voice, right? So you know those friends that you have in your life where if you run into them when you're out shopping and it's 45 minutes later and all they've done is like speak at you. That's that reactive throat wound. People are like, I just have to keep speaking so that you will hear me. So both of those wounds can show up with manifestors and manifesting generators because we both have really powerful throats. And if we haven't healed that, your manifestation process is going to be so out of whack. It's going to be so crazy because that ability to manifest comes from speaking, from initiating through speaking. So you need to do that healing work first. And then moving on from that, it's really understanding that your voice is your connection to things. So for manifestors in particular, our strategy in human design, we talk about strategy, right? So the best way to use your energy. For manifestors, that's called informing. Even though for us, that's not a strategy, it's actually a technique. We're the only energy type, once again, that doesn't have a strategy. We have a technique. And informing says, I'm going to speak out loud and tell everyone around me and tell the universe what's going on, what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, what I'm planning, what I'm doing, what I want, what I don't want. That's because we live behind closed energy. So if we're not informing, people are not understanding. We're not interacting with that energy. And so our manifestation process becomes a lot about informing because we have to speak out loud what it is that we want and what it is that we desire and how we're going to interact with that in order for it to happen. And a lot of manifestors will sit there with their repressive throat wounds, not saying anything and not speaking up and not informing and being really quiet, and then wondering why their manifestations aren't materializing for them and they're not coming into reality. And it's because they've silenced the one power center that they've got to make all of it happen.
Yeah, this is so true. Thank you for mentioning these throat wounds. I feel like it's really important for every type, really, to know it, to know what these wounds are, because like everyone who wants to manifest anything in their life need to have open throat. And I'm more into chakras and I'm more familiar with them. And I know the throat chakra is all about success and ease and flow in your life and everything when it comes to manifestation and self-expression. Because if you want to manifest, you need to be able to express yourself. You need to be able to bring something in, and it's like all about success really, and this feeling of like, yeah, everything flows so easily in my life and everything is manifesting so easily. So without it, without open throat, you're not really going to manifest much at all because everything was going to be so hard and you're going to believe, okay, I can't move on, I can't do it, I can't, maybe I'm unsuccessful, I'm this, I'm that. So thank you for mentioning it. I feel like it's so important to talk about it. And so what about relationships when it comes to like partnership or business or friendship, like, is there any specific type that you feel like is maybe more aligned and more compatible with manifestors? And I know that probably we're generalizing here, right? It's we can probably be compatible with any type if we just work on ourselves and heal our traumas and just be okay with each other, right?
That's
And
it. In
but
an ideal world, yes, yes. We can always do that.
exactly, right? In ideal world. But did you find that, for example, you resonate with some of the other human design types more, or is it just about the also the personality and the other things that just make people connect better with each other?
I think that you can have a difficult relationship or an amazing relationship with anyone, of course, of course. But when it comes to looking at those areas in human design and seeing where that language can be helpful, generally we find that a manifestor and a projector will have a very good relationship. You'll find a lot of manifestors are surrounded by projectors. Firstly, because projectors are also non-sacral, so they don't tire us out, right? We're not triggered into sacral conditioning like we are when we're around manifesting generators or generators, and that can be really challenging and really confronting for us. But also because just the nature of our roles fits together really beautifully. The manifestor is here to initiate new things and then just leave them out in the world. And a projector is here to guide things into the world and allow them to be accessed by a lot of different people and received by a lot of different people. So I do find that manifestors and projectors have this very natural harmony. Certainly, when we're looking at things like business, that's a great relationship. I work with a lot of projectors because I can just initiate something and inform and say, here's my vision. This is what I want. This is how I think that I'm going to bring it together. And I can start putting those pieces together. And then the projectors around me will take it and they'll structure it into something amazing and make that available for a lot of people. Manifestors and projectors do tend to work pretty well in intimate relationships as well, marriages and partnerships, because there is an ease between us and natural understanding. I think that manifestors traditionally struggle the most with manifesting generators. And I think that's from both sides, actually. My experience of it is that I think that we see the similarities in each other and we're really challenged by all the differences in each other. That manifesting generators want manifestors to speed up and keep up and do more things and be consistent. And manifestors want manifesting generators to slow down and be quieter and get back down to our level and rest, right? And so I think that they're probably the most like fraught relationship out of all of them. Not to say that they can't work together. You can have really beautiful relationships. You just need to be super self-aware.
And of course, as we said, we are generalizing here, and always everyone is different. And I also look at it very as a human is a very complex, thing. So we don't only have like the human design, because this, I believe, is human design is kind of like something that we are born with, because this is the type of the energy that we hold. But also we have all this conditioning and personality type, and based on the conditioning, we also can be a match or not to someone. And as I said, I'm very much into Enneagram typology of personality, and I can see how these personalities can match or not match. So if you take human design and the personality and some other traits, of course, and how much we have healed some traumas, or our beliefs or whatever, then there could be a compatibility or incompatibility based on that. But I generally agree. My best friends, actually, one of them is projector, one of them is manifestor, and they are both in a great relationship and also both really good in business together, which I don't think that for all the couples is the best thing to do, to be in business together. But for them, it just works perfectly. And maybe it's because also their human design is just aligned. So, and I can totally relate, like my dear friend, like he's my best friend, but honestly, like I don't see myself being in like a business or like romantic relationship with him, because we love each other and we can talk for hours and it's amazing. But yeah, I can see, like, I would be like, yeah, let's go, let's do, and he would be just like chill and slow, and for me it would be like just no, it couldn't happen. It couldn't happen in any business or whatever. Like, we are perfect as best friends, but I feel like if I had to engage more in some like activities or some just other things like that would require more energy and more just speed for me, it just wouldn't work. So I can really clearly see how that plays out. And yeah, it's it's right, but we can have a beautiful friendship, right? And we can just kind of relate to each other in a different way. So maybe, if you realize, if anyone who listens and they realize, oh, maybe this is not a good match for me, well, you can be friends, or you can shift your dynamic to something different, or you can just simply understand each other more based on your human design and how you operate, and then just give someone a break or let them rest if they need to rest, not just go go go, because like I know that I like to go 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 all the time, right? And if I understand that this other person actually needs recharge, then I can be like, okay, maybe I'm going to go by myself or find someone else to go with me right now. And then I can just give them the space to rest and then to join me and be super pumped when they have something to initiate. So I think we can really just dance with these energies and these understandings. So I'm super, super grateful that you shared all of this with us, because I feel like I know more about human design now, and I know more about people who surround me. So thank you so, so much for sharing
You're
yourself with
welcome.
us. And I have one last question. If someone would like to maybe work with you and they are manifestors, they are listening to it and they're like, okay, this woman is amazing, I want to know more. And what is the best way to find you or to contact you?
So the best place to find me is on Instagram. You can find me at the Holly Maree, and I facilitate a manifestor community. We have a lot, just thousands and thousands of manifestors, which is pretty extraordinary to have all of us in one place, and a lot of other people hanging around us who want to learn about manifestors because they're married to one, or they have a child, or their business partner is one, or someone, and we're such a mysterious little bunch. So it's a manifestor community that I facilitate, and we have a whole bunch of products and things available to support manifestors. Right now, we're focusing on money. We're going through a whole journey through manifestors, really healing and redeveloping that relationship with money. So that will be going through the rest of July if people are jumping over now, and then we'll head back to some more non-money related stuff for manifestors, because there's a lot to talk about. But we are certainly very welcoming of anybody that would like to come in, manifestor or not.
Perfect. Thank you so, so much. I'm really so grateful. I feel like I just expanded my consciousness with the wisdom that you shared with me. So I'm super, super grateful that you are on this podcast and you shared yourself and your beautiful energy with us. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a privilege. Thank you for having me.